a good week to talk about politics. Like, a lot has been happening, a lot to talk about. I think we should just jump right in it with the big story this week. Me and TJ talked a lot about it yesterday, but there's always going to be more to talk about it. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about it for the next 4 months or so, and hopefully for the next 4 years too. But Kamala Harris, Ryan, we haven't spoken about any of this, since the debate. So what has been going on from your perspective? Were you Biden needs to step down, or stick it with Biden, and then was Kamala then the person you wanted to see, or did you want to see someone else take his place?
So I was definitely somebody that was like, Biden needs to step down. A lot that people don't think about is our reputation. We always joke and talk about like, oh, everything is a social construct, but so are things like our reputation around the world. Like the confidence that people have in the United States actually affects our economy pretty directly in a way that I can't super explain because I'm not an economist, but a sociologist that notices these trends, that when it seems like our country is unstable or something's going on, people think that the United States is going to fall through on its debts. So when it came to Biden, it was kind of like, just for the good of everything, you have to step down. It's more than just Genocide Joe and Jim Crow Joe. And why does he have such evil nicknames? But it's more than just those things, like those policy things. That's also part of it too. But in addition to that, he just can't function. And we've watched his decline over the year. And it's like, why didn't you keep your promise when you said that you were going to only run for one term? You didn't want to be president that long. He would have left office at 85. Like it was too much. So I was somebody that was saying, yes, you got to step down for the good of everybody, everything involved. And Kamala Harris, I wasn't in love with. I'd still not. There's a lot to be left to be desired out of Kamala Harris. Her track record is spotty. She flip-flops a lot. It's really hard to pin her down with one thing or another. It's hard to paint her with a single brush because, you could fall ass backwards in the good policy, which it seems like she did on occasion. She became lucid and had good policy that she put out. And a lot she had bad policy that she put out, and she did things that were harmful to the communities, especially in California. But I'm like I said in a video I made, beats a cult leader. So at this point, we are kind of in a unique position, and I was actually talking to a couple of friends about this the other day, that we're in a unique position where she's got to kind of listen to us right now because we can sort of hold the election over her head. And it seems as though her staff and her campaigning staff is pretty tapped in. They immediately jumped on the meme game. They started doing that. And yes, it shows that she's in touch with the youth or whatever you want to say that is, but okay, fine. But they have to see also, what does it mean when she's trending? What's the general consensus of what people are saying? And it isn't all good. A lot of it's bad. A lot of that is racism and sexism and just not wanting to see. I saw so many op-eds that were just, I don't want a black woman as a president. Just straight up. That's the only reason why. And it's like,
well, haven't you heard, Ryan? She's a DEI president. That's it's DEI. That's what it's not racism. It's they just don't want a DEI president, but whatever that means.
Right, exactly. She's going to be the DEI president. But there's just so many there's so many points to hit her square. Like she has messed up, and you can point that out and still vote for her. Like, you could point that out and go, well, at least she's not him. Yeah. But like I was saying, we have an opportunity because and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen any campaign promises or anything. Have you seen anything where she's like, this is what a Harris presidency looks like?
No, we haven't. And it's, I think she should continue doing that for a little while. Like kind of what you said, people are giving their opinions. People are telling her what she wants right now. And I think taking some time to listen, because the interesting about Kamala, like you said, she's a little bit of a mystery box. She, and I don't mean to say that in the way where like Republicans are saying she's unqualified. She's not unqualified. It's just we don't have that much of a track record of her with specific policy because she was an attorney general for a lot of her career, which is just a different thing than being a president or even a senator is. As a senator, she wasn't Bernie Sanders, but she was relatively on the left side of the party for, overall. And as vice president, she's just an arm of the Biden administration. She's not really setting things herself. But what we can glean, and one very important thing in my mind, is that step by step along the way, she was to the left of Biden on Israel and Gaza. Every single, and it's not hard to have been, but it is telling to me that she was always the one kind of moving the administration in the right direction. Now, how much of that is what her actual position is, we don't know. But as long as she remains a mystery box, it makes it hard for Republicans to attack her, because the things that we might criticize her for or attack her for are things Republicans like. They like cops. they like putting people in jail. Like these are things that we get upset about her for, but Republicans don't know what to do. They're literally tripping over themselves trying not to just be racist and misogynistic outwardly, and a lot of them
right.
are failing because they don't know what else to do.
Right. Exactly. It seems to be, it appears to me, and maybe it's because this is just being shown to me much more. It's hard to tell with algorithms and things like that, like what's actually are people talking about or what is for me. But it seems as though I'm seeing a lot more vitriolic response from the left about her with like a no compromise attitude that, in my opinion, is foolish to have this no compromise attitude. Because at the end of the day, we were talking about this a month and a half ago. Project 2025 is the worst thing that ever happened. Biden needs to step down so that we can protect ourselves from Project 2025. Biden steps down, says that he endorses Kamala Harris for running on, in that ticket spot. And the left completely shuts down and then just says, no, we're not going to vote at all. Well, wait a second. Hold on. I thought you were just saying that we needed to vote for Biden to protect us from Project 2025. But if Biden were to step down, that would be even better. He did. And now you're like, I'm taking my ball and going home. It feels like a dog that caught its tail. Now that the left got what they wanted, they don't know what to do, so they're just like, I guess the game's over. And it's like, no. This isn't the time for that. But I haven't seen, like, literally, other than them being like, well, she's a black woman, anything on the right. And I think you're right, because she hasn't said anything. I've never held a vice president to this standard ever. Like, can you think of anybody that was the vice president that we held to this standard that they're holding Kamala Harris's vice presidential record? Like,
yeah, I mean, we probably should have done that with Dick Cheney, considering he had maybe a little more power and influence than other vice presidents out there. But I think that there are people on the left who just want to endlessly complain. They want to constantly be critiquing power and are honestly terrified of holding it because they don't want to be critiqued. They're constantly playing aggressive defense. but this is how you win. Like, minus just bloody revolution, the way you win is by putting forward, increasingly more progressive candidates. And this is a massive win for the left. I mean, the left have, and by the left, I mean, our side of the left. For any Republicans watching right now, I don't mean Democrats. I mean the squad caucus and to the left of that. But this was probably the most successful campaign spearheaded by the left I have ever seen in my life. It was really cool and honestly fulfilling to be a part of something that was actually successful, and not just successful, but rapidly and consequentially successful. And, again, she's a little bit of a mystery box, but we can be fairly certain, given her track record of voting in the Senate, given her constant slightly to the left position of Joe Biden on Israel and Gaza, we can be pretty confident that she is going to move the party in the direction that we would like to see it go. Is she the final destination? No, but that's why we're progressives. We make progress. And I know people don't love incrementalism, and I don't love incrementalism either, but when you look at how everything could have played out, when I was looking at 4 more years of either Biden or Trump, I was depressed. I was just like, this is so soul crushing. I didn't feel energized. I didn't want to go out there and go to bat for Biden, even though I knew that we were facing an existential threat in Trump. Now, suddenly, even though I have my misgivings with Kamala, I'm energized. I'll go out and I'll hit the phone banks. I'll do some canvassing. Like, I will do what it takes to help her win, because I see progress. I see a better future than I did a month ago. And I think that that's something that we should be celebrating. But there are certain people who are so entrenched in their position of opposition that they can't really leave that. And I get it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you're evil or you're a bad person. I just think you're strategically inaccurate.
Exactly. And I think that there's some aspects of the United States and how it functions. I was talking to a couple of friends that are lawyers. I was talking to a couple of friends that are history teachers, and we were talking about the makeup of the country. And I think the country works a little bit different than what people think it works as. And they get frustrated by that because they want to have so much change all at the same time. Like, I'd love to hear a third-party candidate say that they want housing and they want, a social safety net, as far as monetary or like what you would call welfare. They want SNAP programs to be universal. They want universal basic income. All of these things that are great. And like the whole time, because they're like, this is our 100-day plan. Like their first 100 days in office, this is what they would do. And I always just kind of jokingly jest. And it's like, yeah, then we'll get hoverboards and everybody will have flying ponies and we'll all get, because it's not that those goals aren't something that can be achieved, but those goals can't be achieved like that. It just can't, because the United States isn't designed to move that fast. And this is something I can't stress. I know there's a lot of people on the left that are not the people that we are, that we're talking about, that are frustrated and they're like, hey, guys, what do we do? What happens next? I am frustrated with such slow change. But here's the thing. You guys, I promise, do not want the United States to be able to do anything fast. You don't want them to, because the pendulum swings both ways. You don't want an accidental. I'm not even worried about Trump anymore. I'm worried about DeSantis 2035. You know what I mean? Like, I'm worried about the next guy that's going to be a little bit more kempt. He's going to be a little bit more put together. He's going to be just as charismatic, but he's going to make sense. He's going to use big words that make him sound like he's super smart, but he's going to feel down the earth, and he's going to have all the same evil ideas, but he'll know how to implement them. Like, that guy will be able to do it. That's the person that I'm terrified of. And that's the next person that we have to be thinking of, because that's who they're going to put up next. And if you guys instill a bunch of policy change that happens, that makes all of these changes be able to be rapid. I mean, Roe will be the worst of our worries as far as that goes. Like, I mean, you don't want if the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the Supreme Court are all in unison, you don't want them to be able to do stuff fast. Like, the country is designed so that if that were to happen, where one party controlled all three branches at the same time, it would still have to go slow. That's how the country was designed. That's why it just takes forever to get. Nobody watched Schoolhouse Rock.
Should have watched How's a Bill, whatever. The Bill one is the only one I even remember.
That's the only one that you need. I'm just a Bill. You needed to watch that, and so that you would understand who you're supposed to be mad at. Because there is something interesting to talk about, that all the things that people don't like, Biden didn't pass that. He didn't do it. Your state senator did that. Your representative did that. There's 466 seats up across the House and the Senate this year. Have we talked about any of them? Does anybody know who's running for those seats? Are there a bunch of seats that are just running uncontested because we've been moaning about the president, that we just completely forgot about the people that actually do all the stuff that pisses us off?
And that's one of the biggest reasons that I thought Biden needed to step down, because as long as he was at the top of the ticket, he's a distraction from everything else that we need to do. And a lot of those races, like across the board, Democrats are winning. Like that, overall in polling, Democrats are looking to do quite well. It was just that top of the ticket that was starting to drag everything down. My hope is that Kamala catches up to a lot of those down ballot races that you're talking about, and even energizes people, get out the vote. And, the more people show up to vote for Kamala, they're mostly just going to vote blue down the ticket. And that's going to be good for all of those races that, as you're saying, are more important overall in the aggregate than the presidential races.
Exactly. Because one question that it seems as though people can't answer when we get into this conversation of should you or should you not vote, it's not our job to tell you exactly what to do, but in my opinion, you should vote just in case. Just vote just in case. You're sure. You live in a blue state, you live in a blue county, you're pretty sure. Just in case, vote anyway. Because a question I've asked people and they don't seem to have an answer. And I guess I will ask you this, even though this isn't your position. But let's say we don't vote in November. Okay, so we don't vote in November. We completely excuse the presidential election. We'll say that. We voted everything else. We just did not vote for the president because we could not bring ourselves to do that. My question is, what can we do on a practical level that can insulate us from the effects of the president at a federal level? What do you do to protect yourself from the president?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, the people who need most to protect themselves from the president of the United States don't live in the United States. And there's not much that they can do to protect themselves. And that's one of the most worrying things about a Trump presidency is, even going past what he has said he will do in Gaza, which is, believe it or not, far worse than what Biden has done. It's Gaza. It's everywhere across the world. And there's not much the rest of the world can do about it. Now, what can we as people in America do if Trump happens to win? Well, definitely vote for those local elections. Definitely make sure that there are, people who are on the blue side of the ticket who are in charge locally, because hopefully Trump wouldn't be able to actually implement all of the items of Project 2025 and be the dictator that he wishes to be. If he does, honestly, Ryan, the answer is nothing. You're screwed. We're screwed. If he's able to do that. And my biggest thing this entire time has been, I'm very worried about it. It's terrifying that it's even a possibility. But in my heart of hearts, do I think that he'll actually be able to accomplish it? No, because this is the same man who booked a press conference at Four Seasons Landscaping. He's not very competent. As you said, the worst case scenario is Trump gets into power and then he dies, and then J.D. Vance takes over, who, while he doesn't have the cult of personality and the charisma that Donald Trump does, he's more competent at fulfilling that agenda, or DeSantis or someone else. That's the worst case scenario. And if Trump tees that off, then we're screwed. But until then, vote in those local elections, and not just in 2024. Do it in 2025 and 2026 and 2027. Do it every single year. You can, if you have the time and energy, go out and canvass. Join. There's, in Philadelphia, there's progressive coalitions that I'm a part of, that I volunteer for. I'm sure they have it in your city too, or at least your closest city if you live out in the suburbs or in a rural area. Join those organizations. Get involved. Those are things that you can do in order to kind of insulate yourself if national politics doesn't go in the best possible way. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this entire show. You made it to the end. Congratulations. Your prize is you get to know where you can find our amazing guest, Ryan, elsewhere on social media. So, Ryan, how about you tell people where they can find you?
Main platform that I use right now is TikTok, but pretty much everywhere you can find me is IDEFOverthink. That's at IDEFF Overthink. And you could find me over on TikTok and Instagram. I make videos talking about anti-racism, politics, and intersectionality, how those two things fit together. So check me out over there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Ryan. TJ usually closes this with a joke right about now, but nothing's coming to mind. So I'm just going to say bye, people. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff, and be here next week.
Peace.
All right, cool. And I will end the stream there. Awesome.
Cool.